show you my 2019 KTM 500 EXC, and I'm going to do a De-Smog, De-Cork, and I'm going to put a Vortex on it. So I'll let you guys see the before and the after. I want you to hear the sound. Anyway, so what I'm going to do first is we're going to try to get a baseline sound so you guys can hear what the bike sounds like stock. It's all corked up. It's got the screen and the muffler. So let's start it up and hear what it sounds like. Look at that flame out. Of course it is cold. I just started out for the first time this morning, so. The backfire at the top. Alright guys, so the first thing I did was to remove the seat, to get the seat off. There are two bolts, they're 8mm, or you can use the Torx, which I'm not sure what size that is. But you remove those two and the seat just lifts up, slides back. The fuel tank, you have one bolt here, and then you have four bolts, I'm sorry, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. On this side, you have your horn, which hooks there, and that bolt is a little bit longer than the other three, so keep that in mind. When you go to put it back together. So also you have to disconnect that, and you have to unplug the fuel pump right here. There we go. All right, now we're ready to disconnect the fuel line here, which this is pretty simple. KTM made working on this bike great. That's one thing I love about this bike. I've owned Honda, Suzuki's, Yamahas, and nothing that I've ever owned is as easy to disassemble as this thing is. So anyway, so we're going to disconnect this and then just lift off the tank and it'll be good to go. Always wear safety glasses when you have the chance of getting gasoline or some other chemicals in your eye. Also, gloves, love them, protect your hands. KTM supplies with the bike the caps for these so that you to keep from dripping gasoline while you have it disassembled. Also to keep them clean, because you don't want trash getting in there when you go to put it back together. We're going to mount this sick ass switch here. See, it's going to replace the existing. It's a little bit smaller. We're going to route it the same way. This is so that we can program the throttle endpoints on the Vortex unit. So to install the sick ass switch, we got to remove the headlight mount. I'm going to take stuff apart. I like to, as much as I can, put the screws back in where they came out from, because once you get far enough, man, I tell you, a lot of times knowing where things went can become a major problem. So that's why you got to pay attention. Put them back where they can. Put them back where they go if you can. When you tighten your throttle cable down, your throttle down, you got to make sure you got plenty of play in there, and there's absolutely no drag, especially with these bark busters. You can, if you push this into the bark buster, then you're going to have drag on your throttle, and that's no good. You don't want to be riding and give it some gas and you let off and with it, it's sticking or whatever. So here it is. Out of there, it's kind of tight right here. They're showing in their thing that it fits all the way up next to here. I don't think so. Not with that. That's not, doesn't go in there. But I've got it up there as tight as I can, and I've actually got clearance here so it's okay. And I routed this just the exact same way that that the original switch was routed, through here, down, plugs into this harness right here, and then we've got this blue wire right here that plugs in here, and then we've got the ground, which is this yellow, comes up, and I've routed it down here, zip tied it in, got it running along these wires on the frame. You want to make sure that you've got good movement in there. It needs to be able to move around with these other wires, and we ran it back, and it's got to be attached to a good ground. So this is the frame of the bike, and so this is going to be as good of a ground as any, I think. So all right, let's test this sick ass switch. I got the fuel tank back on, fuel pump's hooked back up, so let's just make sure the bike starts. Heard the fuel pump prime, we should be good to go. Bike starts, kill switch kills the bike, good to go. We hooked it up right. All right guys, for the De-Smog, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this piece right here. It's, this tube right here. Now you can actually just get a steel ball or whatever. I've heard people use duct tape. You just can cover this with duct tape and stick it back in there. This is your air injection. So this is injecting air into your exhaust pipe. There's one little screw right in here, which is kind of hidden by some of this plumbing here, but I can get right to it just from out here. And voila. The kit that I bought was 26 bucks, and you get next to nothing for $26, but I didn't want to have to source everything. Actually, I didn't even need this. This is the kickstand bolt. This right here is the other bolt. So actually, you just need these 2 bolts and these 2 brass washers. The washers are nice and soft, they'll crush. But anyway, yeah, I paid $26 for all these bolts, but whatever. You probably don't want to pay that much. All right, just got it in there, snugged it up. Not too tight, but not too loose. You don't want it coming out. All right, the next thing we're going to remove is there's a little brass screw here, which this is the one that I've heard people complain about. So to get to it, you have to remove this motor mount here. So we're going to unbolt the exhaust first. All right, I'm going to take off this side panel, remove the rear muffler. After you unbolt your side panel, there's a little lip back here. There's a little push in here, so you actually pull out from right here. And it just slides right off. Remove the exhaust, you need a spring puller. Bolt the muffler. Slide the in can off. We're going to remove this right here and shorten it. And make sure that we torque those right when we put them back in. That's important, as well as these motor mounts. All that, I'm going to make sure I check the torque specs in the book. Now this bad boy should just slide right out. Okay, now we can clearly get to this, which is, I've heard some horror stories about this bolt. I'm going to need a deep well 8mm, and you just go slow. Mine, it turned real easy, so do not force it. You force it and you break it off, and then you got big problems. Which mine's coming nice and easy. It is tightening up a little bit. Just spraying a little WD-40 in there, and I'm threading it back down. And I'm going to come back out, just slowly working it. Just going to keep on easing it in and out. If it takes me 10 minutes to do this, it takes me 10 minutes to do it. Better than breaking that thing off, and then I'll spend an hour and a half getting it out. I think that's it. I think it's coming on out. Well, that was actually nice and easy. I'm actually going to put some blue thread locker on these, on this one and the other, both of the smog deletion screws, because I'm not going to take them back out. I don't want to you can take back out blue anyway. I just feel better about not having them back out when I don't want them to. Pull this one back. Put a little blue on there. Just enough torque to crush that washer so that it won't come out. All right, now let's get these wires out of here. You've got your line going to your fuel cap, which comes down here and goes to a little Y, one of which goes to this carbon canister here. And so that's a drain down there. We're gonna pull all that out. This other line comes off the other side right here. And then we've got a tube right here coming off the bottom of the carbon canister that drops down there. Ends right there. It's just a dump. We're gonna have to terminate all that. Canister deleted. If you don't get a Vortex, if you desmog, then you need a plug for this, or else you're going to throw engine code on your dash. So what I think I'm going to do here, use a couple of fingers out of some rubber gloves and cap this thing off just to make me feel good. Maybe overkill, but if it makes you feel happy. Not too tight. You just want it to stay there. You don't want to cause extra stress on the wires. All right. So now that we're desmogged, we're going to de-restrict. And to do that, we have to remove a reed cage from behind the air filter, and we have to remove the screen in the back of the exhaust. So there's a restriction. We're going to pop out this rubber bushing. It's kind of glued in there almost. Be careful while I'm doing this to minimize anything that could possibly go into my airbox. Supposedly, this reed should just come right out. So I've got this special tool, comes directly from KTM. Oh, look at that. And carbon fiber reeds. Fancy. What's left to do is put it back together. Well, put it back together and then remove the plug out of the exhaust. I'm going to do that last because I think it'll just be easy to get to and work on with the exhaust attached to the bike. So let's get to it. Fresh air filter. Putting grease on the outside of the filter, the base on the mounting surface. Just want to, ensure that no dirt can get between the filter and the sealing surface. We don't want that. Let's get the exhaust back on. So here we are, first thing next day. We have gone through and installed the Vortex, de-smogged the bike, removed the restriction in the exhaust, removed the restriction in the intake. The bike's been sitting all night. I did all this yesterday, so this would be the first start for the day. So it sat overnight. Let's see what it sounds like.